Hi everyone, I'm Chauncey Nebula, and today, let's talk about not getting tilted in games. Now, you might notice that I'm actually at my streaming desk rather than filming in front of my painting desk, and that's because we're going to play some Halo while I talk about this, and that's because I think not being tilted in games is really most prevalent for video games. You can be tilted in other games, but I think that for most of us, video games are the things that tilt us the most. So, let's jump right in. And now we wait for the matchmaking process. If you're wondering why I'm only having Halo 4 selected, it's just because I feel like playing Halo 4 right now. And I'm playing Big Team Battle because it's my favorite mode. Maybe filming this during the day wasn't the best decision. Really? 3:43 p.m. and no one's playing Master Chief Collection? Aha! People were playing Master Chief Collection. Now, the first thing that you should realize about being tilted is that being tilted is a version of frustration. You're not being tilted necessarily because of anything specific. It's generally just, in most cases, a frustration at not performing the way that you want to. Now, for me, I get tilted when people come into my games and use a mouse and keyboard when I am just using, well, a simple controller. Yeah, we can run over here. Awesome. An insult to injury, I see. So there we see a perfect example of what we don't want. We don't want to die. Most people... I want to get a little loud. Oh, God. Hey! Hey! What's the deal? So most people, they get frustrated when they're losing. I, for example, frequently get frustrated when I'm getting annihilated. But the other thing is... Well, shoot. I mean, you right. No, yeah, that is that being tilted is not your fault. You know, this is not you that's at fault here for being frustrated. Being frustrated happens. It's just a part of life. But there are some things you can do to reduce the chances that you're going to be tilted in any given game at any different time. That guy, I mean, I almost fell for it, but I only fired one bullet. The first thing that you kind of can do, and that I do a lot, is to... Wow, I am not doing well. As I was saying, the first thing that you can do to kind of avoid being tilted or mitigate it is to understand that at the end of the day, what you're doing is not super important. You know, if you're a professional esports player and you're losing a game, then yeah, you know, it's, you know, losing is important. Losing actually makes a difference. Losing is something that directly impacts your career. But unless you're one of those people, all right, I see no one wants to deal with this, so I will. Get on, buddy. Oh, no. Oh, Lord Jesus. All right, so we've learned the first rule of Halo 4. Don't do what I just did there. Oh, my lord. Don't do what I did right there, either. Anyway, the thing is, realistically, you have nothing riding on the result of this game. I have nothing riding on the results of this game other than the fact that I'm doing it and recording it. And so if I fail miserably, you'll all know about it and flame me in the comments for how much I suck. Which is true. go for it. You want to, you think, oh, he sucks. You're right. I haven't played a lot of this game for quite a long time. And this in particular is a terrible game for me. And I think it's a general rule of thumb that every single game you play, as soon as you turn on the camera, you start doing horribly. So because you don't really have anything riding on the result here, you don't need to worry. So you lose the game. Big deal. It doesn't really matter. And that's the thing is, I'm dying a lot here, but I know that it doesn't really matter. Like, yeah, I'm not doing well for my team, and yeah, personally, I would prefer to do better. But, it's not the end of the world. This is not going to do anything, but it makes me feel better. But that's the thing. A pure acceptance of, like, you're having a bad game. It happens. It's a very simple thing. It's a very common thing. If you play 5 games, chances are you're not going to have a good game every single time. Also, I would just like to point out, for the sake of pointing it out, that it's not just me that's doing terribly. My entire team is not having a good time. Look at that score, 970 to 510. That is bad by any standard. All right, so we're just going to sweep that under the rug. And that's kind of the second thing, is if you have a bad game, whatever. I'm just going to pretend it didn't happen. Now, you might think, that's cheating. No. I played the game. I didn't do well. At most, I lost a little bit of my time. I didn't lose anything, really. No, actually, like, don't pretend it didn't happen. Try to learn from your mistakes in general, but, if you don't want to, I guess that's fine. Doesn't really matter. The other thing that you can do is play with friends. It's much harder to get upset at what you're doing if you have friends with you. Now, if you're like me and you don't really have friends who play the games that you play on the platforms that you play on, you're kind of stuck. But even if it's just as simple as you're playing the game with someone else in the room, or you're talking to someone on Discord or something while you're playing the game, there's a lot of ways that you can kind of use the people around you to help you kind of mitigate the amount of emotional damage you do to yourself. Because the thing is, if you're getting consistently frustrated at a game, that is bad for your mental health. And because it's bad for your mental health, it'll end up being bad for your physical health at some point. Concussion rifle! And that's something that I do a lot. I don't generally play a video game just by myself. If it's a single player game, that's a different story. I'm obviously going to play those by myself. But when I'm playing a multiplayer game, which is where I tend to get tilted the most, and where most people tend to get tilted the most, I'm not really playing purely by myself. I'm tending to play more with other people around, either with people on my team that I know, or while talking to someone, and whether that's through, I'm talking to someone on Discord, talking to someone on Skype. And okay, now you need to stop. Just that was just insulting. But you get the idea. Having people around you really does make a difference. And if there's someone there who can be sympathetic, then it's just going to make your whole situation a lot better. Because, yeah, maybe you're having a bad game. Chances are, if you're having a bad game, it is your fault. I'm going to level with you. Like right here, I'm not doing well. That's my fault. I mean, yeah, you can say, well, I'm paying attention to talking and I'm saying, things about not being tilted. But at the end of the day, it's on me that I'm not doing well. This isn't on the other team. It's not on my teammates. It's on me. Oh, I got a kill. I could make all kinds of excuses for myself. But it is my fault. But being told that it's my fault doesn't help me in the moment. And I'm sure it doesn't help you in the moment. If you're having a really bad game and you're just getting annihilated by the other team, or you're just making a ton of mistakes, if there's someone there who says, well, you should just get good, that's not helpful. And if you do that, you should know that that's not helpful. You need to not do that. If you're trying to play competitively and try to get better as a team, then yeah, you should criticize each other. And you should maybe be a little bit harsher than you might otherwise, because that's what's going to make you better. I don't know why I activated my jetpack just there, but it's time for me to leave. That's the other thing you can do. Know when it's time to leave. Know when it's time to quit. Because if you're gonna... Wow. If you're going to just keep playing a game over and over again and just keep losing, you're not going to have a good time. And it's very hard to stay positive and productive and do well if you're frustrated and tilted. So if you ever get tilted, or you're feeling frustrated, or you're just not having fun, just stop. There's nothing that says you can't just stop. Because the thing is, again, unless you're playing like super competitively and this is like your job, you've got nothing writing on this. You paid money for this game, maybe. Maybe you didn't. Maybe it's a free game. But you don't need to play this game. At that point, you've spent money for the privilege of failing, for the privilege of being miserable. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not something that I like to do. I don't want to spend money just to be unhappy. It's sometimes just the right thing to do to just call it a day. To just say, you know what? I've done enough. I don't need to do any more. Now, the other thing that you can... Oh, Lord, please don't do this to me. Oh, God. Well, we dealt with a tank, but now we have a completely separate set of problems, namely that mantis. Oh! And now we leave. Some might call this cowardice. I call this survivalism. Survivalism? Is that a word? I don't think it's a word. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here, because that's where the mantis isn't. The other thing that you can do is take the game a little less seriously. Let's be honest here. These are games for fun. It doesn't matter whether you're... Oh! But yeah, take the game less seriously. This is a game. Like if you're playing Halo, like I tend to do, you're playing a game in which everyone is a genetically modified super soldier with insane armor abilities and all kinds of cool stuff, and you're jumping around and using jetpacks and stuff. That's not realistic. You don't need to treat it like real life. You don't need to say, oh, well, I'm losing a lot and it's, a big deal because I need to win. You don't need to win. And I know that might offend some of you, but you don't need to win. Winning doesn't get you anything. It doesn't, unless you are actually winning money, you don't really get anywhere with it. The thing is, if you're not enjoying the game when you're losing, then you're not playing the game for the game. You're playing the game to win. What you enjoy is winning, not the game. If you're only having fun when you're winning, then this might not be the game for you. If you are playing the game and when you're losing the game, you are feeling to yourself, oh man, I'm really frustrated. I don't like this game. And I've come across these people. Then why are you playing the game? Let's face it, you're not good enough to win all the time. No one's that good. And is it really worth it to play for, an hour? You play 4 games, say, and it takes you an hour. Is it really worth it to play 4 games and spend an hour of your time on it if you're only going to enjoy yourself for 30 minutes? Because then for 30 minutes you've been miserable. Or you could be like me and be miserable because no one's playing the game. Spent more time sitting here waiting for games than actually playing the game. Now, there is another thing that can tilt you. And it might not be the game. It might be your teammates. Most games, not all of them, but most games have a built-in report feature for people who are griefing, abusing their teammates in chat, giving up, cheating, bad attitude. There are a lot of these things, these programs in place in a lot of games to report unsportsmanlike behavior. And keep in mind that unsportsmanlike behavior isn't just negatively impacting the outcome of the game. It's negatively impacting your teammates. Now, I'm sure it will come as a great surprise to you, but a very large number of people out there who play online games really are very harsh on their teammates. And the simple reason for that is a lot of people don't want to admit when they've done something wrong. If the team is doing badly, it's not going to be their fault. They're not going to feel like it's their fault. And we've all been there. I've certainly been there. But there are a number of people who feel the need to go into chat and flame their teammates. Or if you're playing Halo, occasionally you'll find someone who just hits someone in the back or shoots them down because you can kill your teammates in Halo. Now, in Halo, of course, there's the boot system where if someone team kills you and a certain number of criteria are met, then you can just say, yeah, I want to boot them from the game. And if you're playing on Xbox like me, Xbox Live has a report function. But the presence of the report function doesn't mean that you're just automatically fixing the problem. Because, yeah, you can mute them, you can kick them from the game sometimes, you can report them, but sometimes you still have to deal with it. And if you're like me, coming across a really toxic person in a video game, that has an effect. Now, a lot of people have said, famous people, not famous people, a lot of people have said that the quality of a person is determined by their actions when no one's looking. Essentially, when there's not a reward to be had, when no one's going to give you praise for it, what do you do? And the thing is, in an online video game, you're not face-to-face with real people. You're face-to-face with usernames and numbers. You don't see them. You might not hear their voice. If you play a game like League of Legends, oftentimes you're not even going to refer to the player by their player name. You're just going to refer to them by the character they're playing. And that removal of that very human element of I can see the person, I can hear their voice, means that a lot of times it's really easy to be toxic because you don't have that immediate negative feedback from your peers. Now, can voice chat be toxic? Absolutely. Because there are people out there who are just so toxic that even someone getting on voice chat and calling them out on it are still going to say, well, you know what, I'm in the right, you're wrong, it's the internet, I can say what I want, etc. Those are the people that can tilt you. You're never going to be tilted by someone who is nice. If you're tilted by someone who is nice, I think there's something else going on here. Now, for me, whenever someone's being toxic in my games, I have a strategy. It's kind of a multi-part strategy. If I can turn the chat off, like voice chat or something, I always do so. I pretty much never play an online video game with the voice chat enabled. And I pretty much always turn off text chat. If I'm playing something like Halo, I'm not playing competitively. I don't necessarily need to communicate with my teammates. But if you're playing something like League of Legends, communication is actually extremely important. And muting someone might mean that you're not getting access to important information that will help you have a good game. So if you can't just outright mute chat so you just don't have to deal with it, or you don't want to mute chat because you genuinely have positive interactions with people, we go to phase 2, which is if someone's being toxic and you're in a position where you can communicate with them and it's gonna like just not be that big of a deal, do what I do and call them a silly lemon. It is incredible the number of times that I have been faced with a toxic person and been able to diffuse the situation while simultaneously kind of putting that person back in their place by just calling them random stuff. If you say random things to a person, they're just not going to be angry. Like, they might be frustrated because they're not getting the feedback that they're wanting, but at the same time, you can't feed them. You know, if you go head to head with this person, you're just going to make things worse. And if you agree with them, you're just encouraging that behavior. So what you do is you do neither of those things. And invariably, for me, that's calling them a silly lemon. Although I'm calling the servers a potato right now because no one's playing this game, apparently, even though I just had 2 games in a row where we had a full 16 people. Now, the thing about calling them a silly lemon is that they're not going to be able to report you for this. And if they do, you've called them a silly lemon. It's not a bad thing. You know, it's not like anyone's going to read the report and look through the chat logs and be like, ah, yes, silly lemon. That's offensive. You know, you could do anything for the most part. You know, you could call them a washing machine, although I wouldn't recommend it because that seems a little more derogatory than a lemon. But the thing is, if you don't feed them and if you don't encourage them and you don't argue with them, and instead do something that forces them to think about something else other than their rage, their toxicity, their anger, they're probably going to back off a little bit because they're not getting that feedback that's going to fuel them. Most people don't rage for no reason, and most people don't rage because they think it's funny. And those people that do, they're the people who are going to be reported, and nothing you do is going to solve that. You're just stuck with it in the moment, but then the game ends and you never have to see that person again. But if you're in a game where you're going to be with this person for a while, call them a silly lemon. And I've had this work so many times where if you just stay positive and you just say, ah, come on, you silly lemon. And they're like, why would you do that, you idiot? It's like, well, because I'm not that good at the game, you silly lemon. You know, if you just keep reinforcing the fact that you're being positive and just, you know, it's not a big deal. We've been waiting so long that my Xbox is going into power saving mode. Unbelievable. Anyway, you get the idea. You need to step up in certain circumstances and diffuse that situation. Or alternately, just mute and report them. And just remember that at some point, the gods will come down and punish them. They will ban their account, mute their chat, and it will be delicious. I'd like to finish this off with just one game, you know, just a game. We're going to add more games to the list because if we add more games to the list, maybe we'll find a game sooner. Or alternately, we could still be sitting here for the same amount of time. This is Halo Master Chief Collection. How is no one playing this game? If this is the stuff that you're being tilted by where you just like can't play the game, this is the correct thing to be tilted by. It's just because then you're not even being tilted at a person or anything. You're just being tilted because the game's taken a long time. There is literally nothing I could do to make this go faster. And it's killing me. You know, it's not like I'm frustrated that this has taken a long time because I've definitely waited for multiplayer games for upwards of 30 minutes. At times, I'm looking at you, Star Wars Squadrons. Ah! Aha! So yeah, I compared it to Star Wars Squadrons, and just a few moments later, it did it. What game are we playing? Halo 3? Oh boy, do I suck at Halo 3. And Avalanche. Oh boy! The map I'm literally the worst at. Is it gonna start me off with a battle rifle and a pistol? Because that would be ideal. My bad, I'm trash. Dude, preach. Same. Absolutely. Alright, battle rifle and assault rifle. This is not as bad as it could have been. Okay, are we going to do well? No. We are going to, however, be extremely accepting of our limitations and recognize that we aren't good. Well, I watched that happen. I watched that scorpion slide in from the side and... Hey, I killed someone! Oh, I died! I got run over by a ghost, I think. That's even more insulting. Can the battle rifle make this kind of shot? Help, police, drive-by murder. The other thing that I've found to be really useful in reducing tilt is to play games that are shorter. You know, if you're playing a single-player game, it's likely that the game is just going to take the amount of time that the game takes. You know, you might be able to rush it, but in general, probably not. Someone is going to show up and just ruin my day. I can smell it. But yeah, you should consider, if you are often getting tilted in multiplayer games, playing games that are shorter. Where am I? Where did that put me? What's this? A power drain. What does that do? If you guys know what a power drain does, let me know in the comments below, because I have absolutely no idea what this thing does. The thing is, I used to play a lot of League of Legends, and I would just get really frustrated. A lot. Which is no surprise, because League of Legends is, of course, an extremely frustrating game. Ooh, I smell a rage quit. The thing is, I've started playing more games that are shorter. You know, fewer things like MOBAs, more things like this. And in general, it's really been much nicer. That was my bad. That guy deserved that kill. That was a well-placed grenade. But honestly, the thing is, with a game like a MOBA or a Battle Royale or any of these games that take, you know, 30, 40, maybe even an hour. These games that just take a long time, if you're having a bad game, you're stuck there. Because you can't leave, really. You know, if you're playing a Battle Royale, I guess you can leave, but then you've kind of undone all the work that you put into, you know, if you leave after 30 minutes. Why did I do that? That was a waste of my time. We're only at 33? Alright, so maybe my statement about playing shorter games wasn't necessarily accurate for Avalanche and Halo 3, but it is very true that if you're not going to be stuck in the game for as long, you're probably going to enjoy it a lot more. Now, granted, in some games this isn't necessarily always true, but I feel like it's going to be true most of the time. Halo 3 rocket launcher, a classic. My bad. The thing is, games that are long form and very competitive are often for a very specific variety of people. People who are willing to put in a lot of time and effort into a game without necessarily the guarantee that it'll do well. Like this game, where I'm not doing fantastic. Did I mention that I was bad at Halo 3? The last thing that I want to talk about for not being tilted is, in fact, to be honest with yourself. Recognize that you're bad. The thing is, if you have a lower expectation for your performance, you're probably just not going to be upset when that happens. Now, I'm not saying that you should, you know, just expect to be terrible. And I'm not saying that you should, you know, say that you're terrible, and I don't think that you should, you know, just sort of consign yourself to losing. But if you are honest about your abilities, I think you will have a lot better time. It certainly has helped me to know that, I'm not as good at certain games. And so at those games, if I do poorly, it's just par for the course. Aha! Well, I'm in a bad spot. I'm out in the open, and there's nothing to save me. Oh, man, where did that guy... I was like, where did that come from? I don't know what that was about, but, that's a typical Halo 3 interaction for me. Now, if you are getting tilted by any game, really, if you're in the process of being tilted, if you're having a bad time, it's something that you have a choice to make with. You can either choose to continue and just sort of accept that, maybe you're not doing so great. Or you can choose to try to be better, try to get better, get good, as some might say. That grenade will probably not do anything. But that's the thing, I generally tend to look back at my games and learn from my mistakes. Did I do something well? Did I do something poorly? If I clearly made a mistake, then I can tell myself, well, I'm just not going to do that in the future. And with practice, of course, you get better. Now, if you're playing competitively, you're going to be watching your replays of your games. And you're going to see that you die a lot. And you're going to see stuff that's stupid. But if you go back and look at the replays of your games, even if you're not playing competitively, it's going to normalize in your mind the fact that you are the skill level that you are at. And you can generally... Most games do have a theater mode. And if you can go back and look at the replays of your past games, you can see what did you do well, what did you do, correctly, and what did you do wrong. And if you can see that, someone killed you because they were either A, better, or B, they were luckier, or you made a mistake, then it's easier to find acceptance of your own skill level and therefore not be tilted. Now, for example, I'm under no illusions about my own capabilities here. It's not good. Let's be honest. I'm not that good at this game, but I'm okay, and that's good enough for me. Anyway, guys, I hope you found this helpful or just had fun. Really, I made this video because I was already playing Master Chief Collection, and I had this thought, and I thought, you know what? I just kind of want to talk about it. But I also don't want to stop playing Master Chief Collection, so... I guess I could do both at the same time. Do you guys often get tilted? Do you have your own strategies for not being tilted? If you do, or if you think anything else, let me know down in the comments below. And be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon, as it really does help the channel grow. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. I left the back light on. No! That's what I get for doing something different. That's what I get for doing something different. Every time you do something different, it just gets you. It gets you.